was trying to share with them a little bit because I don't have any idea how that feels. You guys with glasses, because I've never had to deal with that. But my son has to have glasses, and he can't see like too far at the end of his hand. Like I tested it one time. It was funny. Well, good morning or good morning, good evening to everyone that's tuning in online. Can you hand me my Bible right there? We're in Exodus, and I believe we are in Exodus chapter 12. Yeah. And again, like we explained Sunday, they're moving through this part pretty quick because what we're skipping over is the plagues, right? Actually it's labeled the different plagues in the different chapters there. But Moses had been sent to free Egypt, or free the Israelites from Egypt. And in chapter 11 is probably the most severe plague that God had dealt to Pharaoh and his people. But in chapter 12, we see what we know as, again, an ordinance. We term it something else because when Jesus did it, he changed it. But the Passover meal then for the Israelites, right, signaled I guess an end and a beginning for a new chapter in what God's people were gonna do. And so we'll read here, and then the Bible study author has a couple questions for us. But it says in chapter 12, verse 21. Then Moses summoned all the elders of Israel and said to them, "Go select an animal from the flock according to your families and slaughter the Passover animal. Take a cluster of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and brush the lintel and 2 doorposts with some blood in the basin. None of you may go out the door of his house until morning. When the Lord passes through to strike Egypt and sees the blood on the lintel and the 2 doorposts, he will pass over the door and not let the destroyer enter your houses to strike you." We were taking care of some business before we started service for you guys online, but I think, this, we talked about this beforehand, right? And what the Bible study author actually, the question that he wants us to think about is, I think it's fitting for those that are wondering, what do we do, right? And for those of you online, Christmas is a time of, gift giving, shopping, maybe seeing family. It's turned into, especially here in America, it's turned into a holiday where it's basically just commercialized. It's retail based. It's not so much recognized for what it really is about, right? And the Bible study author has a question for both groups thinking about what we're going through right now. It says, how far back does your favorite Christmas tradition go, and how did it get started? So first of all, we have to identify a favorite Christmas tradition. And I know it's a little bit beforehand, but right now, actually spending time with my wife out shopping on Black Friday is kind of the tradition I can remember often enough. Now, if I think about it, right, we get to go to Rama with the family. We get to go do different things. We get to go drive around, look at lights, and we have a big Christmas meal with all of our family, right? But what is it that you guys, what's your favorite Christmas tradition, and how did it get started? Well, mine got started when my mom, when Black Friday really started getting popular, and there was big box retail stores near our town that started doing Black Friday deals and all that. So she would drag me out and we would go shopping. And then it got to the point where we would leave Thanksgiving dinner and go that night to when the shops would open at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, midnight in some cases, and we'd go and we'd shop the deals. And me and Christina have just kept that up. That's something that we do, and she was looking forward to it. So I don't like it for the traffic when you're trying to find a parking spot and you have to park a mile away to get to your store. But what are your guys's what's your guys' favorite Christmas tradition? It doesn't have to be Black Friday or shopping or anything. Anybody want to share real quick? Favorite Christmas tradition? Christmas. Yeah, as a young kid, right now, looking forward to that Christmas morning where you get to wake everybody else up, and go to that tree and find your biggest present, right? And get to open it, right? What? What's Krampus? German Santa Claus?
You guys do that? My my favorite part of Christmas, well, along with everything else, is the breakfast we eat on Christmas morning. I really like it's a big old breakfast, huge breakfast, and it's good.
Some
I like that.
pancakes. Oh, some pancakes.
Oh yeah.
Like a night at the Roxbury? You yeah, put your eye out. Is that one of them? Is that Christmas? Is that Christmas Story? I never watched the whole thing. I just
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
yes, it is. Well, okay. So how did it get started? Obviously, we know about the presents because as a kid, you get delivered Christmas presents from Santa Claus, your relatives, and everything. You start seeing them pile up before Christmas, right? And you're anxiously waiting. But um, who was saying? What was you guys? The meal. How did that get started?
We started that in my parents' family uh, when we had our own families and we'd go back to my parents' house. We always ate a big breakfast that morning, and we've just continued it on. Knowing there's a big feast at the war dance, but we eat the big breakfast.
Yeah, and that's something I've been introduced to the big meal. Yeah, it's about the gifts and kids and everything, but looking forward to again being with family and taking part, breaking bread. We didn't ever do that as a kid. When I was growing up, or even when I was older as an adult, we didn't have a Christmas meal, and I really like it. Again, the family aspect of seeing everybody and all that, and it started a long time ago, right? Uh, let's see. My mom, uh, she cooked, but it wasn't for like a big family deal. It was like just a Christmas meal, and if we had family visiting, they would take part in it. But it wasn't something. It wasn't a tradition. Because I know one year we woke up, opened gifts, and then everybody else went back to sleep. Me and Albert were playing with our gifts all day. So I think we got an Xbox or something like that. We was playing that all day. Um, movies. When here's a question for you guys: how has your family responded when someone suggested doing something new or different related to that? when they said, let's not do the meal.
A lot of resistance.
That kind of happened with us. We've always James and I always got up and made a huge breakfast, Christmas breakfast, and everybody came over and ate with us. All our family, from his side and my side, and we would all have a big breakfast. And then Bud, he did that for the few years there, and then last year he's like, "Mom, we're not making a big breakfast. We're just gonna do biscuits and gravy." And I was like, "That's fine. That's fine." I'm not gonna argue. It's not the same.
I would ask Christina this, but there was one year, I think there was one year we didn't even decorate the house. And for me, that's crazy because my dad always decorated the house when we was out there, and mom, she would always want some kind of decorations. There was a couple times where we were struggling, not financially, but as an individual with things that went on in our life to get the tree up and all that type of stuff. But um, it was not right. I guess you could say if you don't take part in the tradition, right? It's not right. There's something seems off to be able to do that. If you go the whole season without watching any Christmas movies, I mean, there's just something's going to be off, right? Why is it so hard to change those traditions? When you're thinking about traditions and things we've grown up with and want to implement and want to pass on to your kids, why is it hard to change the traditions? And uh, think about it, because we're a native Baptist church, for whatever that means, right? We have ancestral teachings that come along. One of the things that we was looking at, right, is going to affect the way we've been operating as a church for so long. When you introduce something new or different, right? Um, why is it going to be hard to accept that new way?
Because everybody gets in a rut and wants to do the same old thing.
Yeah.
I think because of what it represents a tie to the past. And there's not a whole lot of things we do that actually have a tie to the past. And so, like Krista brought things into our family that she brought from her family. A lot of it we didn't take, but some of it we did,
You mean you?
and for her sake, we'll continue it on because it's a tie back to that, and just even things we do that we did with my first wife, Christina, Anna's mom, that we still do in our home with the stalkings, and so I think that's the reason we would be resistant, is simply because it breaks a legacy to those that aren't here. They done that, so we try to carry that on, and it gives it meaning.
I think so too. 'Cause it's kind of like our meals when we have our meals, and if you watch it, it says proven dishes only. Like,
Well, that's Chris.
That's Chris.
yeah, proven dishes only. Like, these traditions are proven. Like, they've been around for so long. Like, certain things,
Yeah,
like,
that is a rule.
yeah,
That's
and
our rule.
if you try something new, it might not, like,
Don't
last year I made this, I made this fake snow with lotion and flour, and I put it on the ground and stepped on it with my boots. So when Cleo wakes up, she thinks Santa walked over to the tree. And I did that just one year, but I'm gonna do it this year. Just keep doing it. Maybe it works. I don't know. Like, it might be a new tradition that I do each year, but it's kind of right. It's
Put
kind of
deer
weird.
hooves in it.
It's gonna-
But I think traditions are like I said, they're proven, and you don't really want to try something new because it might not really stick, might not really work.
Yeah, that's a good point.
When I was a kid, we lived in Claremore, so we would we'd go to my grandma and grandpa Pratt's. They lived in Oakhurst there in Tulsa, outside of Tulsa. We would go there on Christmas Eve and then come on this way and stay with my grandparents at their house on for Christmas morning. So after, they passed, we didn't do that anymore. then we would have Christmas Eve at the house for my in-laws on James's side of the family. We would always have Christmas Eve together and have a meal. And sometimes his mom would do it, and then sometimes we would hold it. And we did that for years. And then Christmas morning was my family. But yet, a lot of them would come and have breakfast with us. They liked that tradition. Those kids still did. I mean, a lot of them still do, like Marissa's kids and stuff. They really miss that Christmas breakfast that we had. But it's just, I think brings back the remembrance.
Yeah. We have the big family meal that we just had this past weekend, and something that's neat about that is the games, and when I was first there, we had there was something about couples and what they had to do and everything, and it's kind of embarrassing because one of the games was knowing your partner, and we didn't. No, it was at the. Yeah, it was, and it was. I was like, what in the world? Were we supposed to be asking these questions? No, but it was random questions. But being a part of another group, right? They celebrated Christmas a little bit different. It was on Christmas Eve, and I was like, when I was introduced to that, again, doing everything on Christmas Day or any of the holidays, right? You don't lead up, you don't do it beforehand. It was hard because I had gotten into what you said, a rut maybe, but I had gotten into this groove and was expecting one thing, and when it turned out to be something different, it kind of threw me for a loop. And not to say that I couldn't have gotten accustomed to that, but going again back to my roots, the celebration happens on the holidays, and that's what it was set aside for, right? What I've always stuck to, one thing that Junior has always said is that Sunday is church day. When you're committed, right? When you've made that commitment to church in whatever respect, if you're just a churchgoer or a part of the leadership team or affiliated in some way, right? Sunday is church day. And for those of you online, right, Wednesday night, you guys come here to be able to take part in the lesson and stuff like that. But one of the discussions we were having here, you can only hear if you're here on Wednesday evening. We have a meal. We discuss things beforehand before we get on here and in the sanctuary to read the scriptures. But we invite you to take part in that. And that's been tradition for a while. We even had we started up a Sunday evening Bible study, and from what we could tell, it was going really well. But then it's not something that we keep up. But those things, when you make them tradition, become part of you, right? And that's what it means to be a Christian. That you now ask God into your life, and He's a part of you. So you have to carry that on. That's what the Israelites were asking. They were asking to be rescued. They were requesting God to intervene on their behalf, and He was answering their prayers. And what this point in time right here, the Passover meal was representing, was that change. That change. They were gonna do away with what they were used to in the past, being slaves, and they were gonna go forward. But they were marking a time when they were going to honor God, when they were going to actually listen to Him, when they were going to go and follow His command, right? So He takes it even further. And this is where we get the Passover meal. This is where we get the ordinances. When Jesus came on the scene, He didn't change it, right? He didn't throw it away. He just changed the way we observe it. So going on in verse 24, it says, "Keep this command permanently as a statute for you and your descendants. When you enter the land that the Lord will give you as He promised, you are to observe this ritual. When your children ask you, what does this ritual mean to you? you are to reply, it is the Passover sacrifice to the Lord, for he passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt when he struck the Egyptians and spared our homes. So the people bowed down and worshiped. Then the Israelites went and did this. They did just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron, right? And he was working through Moses and Aaron when he was talking about this. That's what the Bible study author wanted us to recognize, is that if he wasn't doing it himself, he has people that instruct you. He has angels, whatever you might want to call him. He has people that he sets aside to be able to keep his church and keep his commands and keep his promise, right? And we see that today as the leadership of the church, whether it's pastors, preachers, church grandmas, all that, song leaders, worship leaders, any of that, to keep that up, to actually pursue what it means to be a Christian. Keeps it organized and all of that. And so we see here at the end of this, the actual what this book is about is the Exodus, the actual freeing of the Israelites from Egypt. Won't go into too much of that, but you see right here what we were just looking at, the verses. What does it mean to you? And I always ask this when people question culture and stuff like that, and it's a really, really, I guess you'd call it pie in the sky type of thought. Not that other thoughts aren't as meaningful, but it when people ask what a native is what does it mean to be native? It was okay. Well, I want to take it further. What does it mean to be Pawnee or Cherokee or any of this type of stuff? Usually the response with somebody who's more familiar with culture is, well, it means talking. It means speaking your language. It means keeping up your customs and traditions. One of the things that I respect our leader about is that he actually keeps that up. He holds one of the ceremonies for our people. There's only 2 men in our tribe that are able to do this service for our people, and that's what it means to be Pawnee. Not the ceremony itself, even though that's a good thing. It's to actually serve your people. What does it mean to be a Christian? Well, it means to actually serve the Lord. And in your service to the Lord, it means to tell people about him, to testify about him, to show people what he's done for you, to help them when they are in need of scripture or help, right? It says, what does this ritual mean to you? It is the Passover sacrifice to the Lord, for he passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt. He spared them when there was all kinds of chaos happening to the Egyptians. He gave them a way out. He gave them protection, right? He instructed them on how to do things to the T so that they would be recognized as followers of him. If you didn't follow the instructions, if you went out before morning, right, you were struck dead. All these things right here, they matter. And that's what it means, if we want to just take a step back from all that, right? That's what it means to be a community member in your town, your city, or anything like that. Your church member in your church, tribal member, right? That you're doing what it means to be that tribe. As a citizen of the United States, what does it mean to be a citizen? Well, you follow the Constitution. You make sure that you follow the law and rule the land. You're not out there stealing and all that, even though that would cover all the other groups that we just talked about, right? Because none of us tolerate stealing. That's what it means to be a citizen of this land. When we're talking about our service to the Lord, what does it mean to you? Well, to me, it means Christmas is about Christ being born. At the very, very base of it, the foundation of it is to recognize that time period, not that specific day. We don't know the specific day, but that time period that he was born, and God answered his promise. God kept his promise to be able to free us from our sin debt and save his people. Right. At the foundation, that's what it means. That's what the hymns talk or sing about. That's what we try to preach when we're speaking on those holidays and stuff like that. That's what it means. That's what Christmas means to me. Yeah, the meal's nice, the shopping is fun, the movies are cool. I don't really find Grinch funny, but Jim Carrey's funny, so it's catch 22, right? I actually heard a song on the way here, Frosty the Snowman. There's a little movie. I don't know if it's a movie or a show or whatever. That's what I really like as a kid, is watching that. And the claymation Rudolph. That's always cool too. Was Gumby in? Wait, they have a Christmas deal with Gumby or something like that. But yeah, that's nice. But at the foundation, it means Christ was born, and that set up what we do today is that we're telling people about him, and that it's a good thing, that he was sent, that he died, that he rose again, because it all fulfilled what God was going to do for us, that he told us about in this word right here. And so, traditions aside, that's what Christmas means to me. And that's, when we come up on the season, yeah, everything's good and everything, but recognizing that God fulfilled his promise to save his people. And so, any questions and comments? Rude remarks. Hey. All right. So when we're talking about traditions, right? Because Christmas is a tradition, I guess the American people are fond of, but it's been turned into so many different things these days. I think we forget what it really means, right? And so, for those of you online, we're going to go ahead and end this portion. We're going to go to a time of prayer. If you guys want to send your prayer requests in or send your praises in to share with us, so we can do it or share with you online as well. But we'll be back here Sunday. Sunday school starts at 10, and our main worship service will start at 11. So until then, we'll see you later.